written, and the other ones are all recorded. And I asked the board clerk when many of those, some of those are probably 40% of those are on the reopening of the schools, the other 60% on the org chart, equity, job description that the superintendent pulled at the beginning of the meeting. I asked the board clerk, and she worked with the board secretaries to contact every one of those people and advise them that it had been pulled off the agenda, and would they still want to speak, because we were hoping that they would say no, but I was counseled by general counsel to make sure there was no pressure telling them they shouldn't speak. So some of them came off, and some of them agreed to pull it off, but unfortunately, there's a whole lot of them that wanted to stay, even though it's no longer on our agenda, so they've been moved to non-agenda speakers. So we'll start with them, and I know Mr. Ramasar, and there's no way to limit these people to like less than 3 minutes because they're not speaking, they're already recorded, so whatever it is, it is. Mrs. Bass, I see your hand. Do you have something you'd like to add?
Yes, the superintendent has had to leave the meeting. He had a personal emergency, and so we're asking the deputy to come forward. At least with knowing that he is available.
Okay, and I see Mr. Oswald just popped on the screen. Okay, great. So, Mr. Ramasar, if you will start the recording playback for the 40-some members that want us to listen to them, please.
Hello, my name is Kimberly Johnson. I am the parent of 2 students in Palm Beach County Public School. This is for the meeting on Wednesday, June 17th. I would just like to express my opinion regarding reopening the schools. I would like to see the schools reopened in the fall with no restrictions. I would like to see our children there 5 days a week, full time, and no mask to be worn by the students or teachers. I would like to see them being able to play on the playground, go to the cafeteria and eat lunch, and do every other thing that a child will do at their ages. Our kids need to be in school. They need to have the social interaction with their other peers. They also need to be taught
Hi, my name is Melissa McCourt, and I am calling about the school schedule proposals for fall of 2020 school year. I understand that the school district did the very best they could in a very short amount of time back in March to implement distance learning, and I applaud them for that, and they got equipment out to those that needed it. The teachers were amazing in setting up schedules and doing everything we could to continue to educate our students. However, I will say I have 2 children at home. One of them is going into 8th grade and one of them is now going into 1st grade. Neither one of them learned anything new after the middle of March. That is not to say that the teachers did not give them assignments. That is not to say that they didn't do the best that they could. All of my children did complete all assignments given to them. However, they didn't learn anything. It was a point and click, and it was a get through the assignment. I work full-time. My husband works full-time. I can't sit home with my children and teach them. They're not going to learn from me. I'm not an educator. I am not trained in how to teach young minds to learn. That is what our teachers are for, and that is why we need them. Especially the younger children going into 1st grade. My son, he needs face-to-face interaction with a teacher. Younger children, they need that discipline. They need that, not really hands-on, but they need that face-to-face interaction from the teacher to see the positive reinforcement from the teacher, to get that excitement from the teacher as they are learning new things. Young children cannot learn on a computer. I don't care how colorful it is. I don't care how pretty it is, how interactive it can be. Kids need people. My oldest one, even though she has the mental capacity to learn from a virtual assignment, it is not the healthiest way for middle schoolers to learn. They need to be around other children. They need to have social action. They need to talk to other children face to face and understand that they're experiencing the same things. They need to see their classmates struggle with the new assignment that they're given. When they're sitting home and they're learning something new, they think they're the only one who doesn't get it. It is very helpful for children to see their neighbor sitting next to them not understanding it either. It helps them feel like that they're not alone. I know that the virus is dangerous. There are precautions that we can take, but for the mental health of our young students and for the ability for them to be productive members of society later in life, we need to have them in school. We need to have them with our trained educators. Our teachers went to school. This is what they do. This is their passion. They should be the ones teaching our children, not a parent who is rushing out the door to go to their job, not a parent that works from home and off the side of their desk is helping their child click through an assignment. My first grader will not be able to learn how to read properly without teacher interaction. I can't teach him. I'm a very intelligent person. I can do a lot of things, but my skill set does not include teaching a young mind how to learn to read, teaching a young mind how to do math. I can talk to my middle schooler until I'm blue in the face, but she needs to be next to her friends. She needs to see children. She needs to understand that she's not alone. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Trisha Garay, G-A-R-A-Y, and I am the mother of 3 children, 2 middle schoolers and 1 high school student, living in Wellington, attending public schools. I'm calling and emailing to support the full reopening of regular school for my 3 students. The reason I am in support of the full reopening is because my children's grades have suffered dramatically because they struggled with the distance learning option. Some children learn best with instructor-led traditional school, and I do respect that other families may feel differently, and options could be available to those who prefer virtual options or are in a high-risk health category. With regular reopening, I do support schools take extra precautions such as frequent sanitizing, smaller classes, possibly face masks when students are required to be closer to one another. I feel that healthy teachers and healthy students who do not have underlying health risks can safely attend or teach students in a regular classroom setting in a safe manner. My children's mental health is just as important to me as their physical health, and I could see increasing frustrations and sadness from my 3 children with the distance learning option, as well as headaches from being on their laptops for longer periods of time than normal. I'm very concerned that my high school student's overall GPA had decreased, and this can be a serious setback for college admissions, thus affecting his future options. These are my reasons why I feel regular schools should resume for parents who prefer this option. Thank you for listening. Have a great evening.
My name is Thomas Miller, and I live in Palm Beach County, and I'd like to speak on the topic of reopening the schools. I think the schools should reopen, and there should be half the teachers should be allocated to have kids in the school, and the other half of the teachers should be able to do the virtual schooling for the parents that want to keep their kids at home. So I think there should be a parent should be able to have the choice of whether the kid goes to school or if the kid stays home and is homeschooled and using the online learning tools on the school district website. I think it's important for the kids to wear masks when they're in the school. I know personally for my child, I'm going to send him to school when it reopens. I do not want to keep my kid at home. I have to work, and I just cannot work, and I don't have childcare. So it's really important for me and all the other parents that have to go back to work that we have childcare. We just don't have it. So if you could please reopen the schools, it's very important for me and my family. And this is regarding the agenda item, which is reopening the schools. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Alejandro Gomez, and I want the school to be open 5 days a week, starting August 11 or 12, I think so. Thanks.
Good morning. This is Santa Evans. I'm in Palm Beach Gardens. I am calling in regards to the meeting today for the school reopening plans in the fall. I have 2 children in the school system, and I just want to say that our children are the future. They need to go back full time because their education is essential. They are our future. They need to get back to normal lives and get the best education possible. My eldest son, he got accepted into the theater program at Drysis. I'm not sure how you can do a theater program from home. My daughter loves to play sports. She has made the school softball team. She also plays for the city on travel and rec. She needs to get back to her passions as well as her schoolwork. She is a straight A student this past year. Please take this into consideration when you are reopening the schools in the fall and have them go back full time, all day, every day. Thank you so much.
Hi, yes, my name is Colleen Kirk, and I am calling in regards to the students or children going back to school starting August 10th. I do believe they should all go back starting August 10th, full capacity, meaning that I believe that they should not have some online classes with in-school classes. I believe they should go back in the classroom 5 days a week. It is very disruptive. It is very hard for these children to be going back and forth. I believe it is some normalcy these children need in their lives. And again, I do believe that they should go back to school Monday through Friday, the normal times, with some precautions as needed. Again, thank you for your time regarding this matter. Again, my name is Colleen Kirk. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Hi, School Board. This is Olivia Benkowski. I'm calling to say that I would highly suggest that we go to students having full-time school. Being as the virtual school for my end was incredibly inconvenient, not only to myself with 2 other small children, but also to my daughter, who is, 7, and it was extremely hard for her that we spent 2 to 3 hours a day sitting in front of a laptop trying to navigate through tabs and back and forth throughout website pages. And I understand that the Google Classroom was, great, for some students, and the teachers worked very hard to put that together. But to be honest, that was a Band-Aid, not a solution. There's plenty of other programs out there that would be more structured for online schooling, but for my daughter and plenty of other students across the nation, the virtual school, a lot of them didn't do it. And also they're way behind now on schedule for their grade level because the parents didn't have time. Parents are working full-time jobs. And on top of that, you're asking them to spend 2 to 3 hours with their child solely to do the online schooling. It's virtually impossible. I think that for students, we're only fixing one part of the problem when it comes to their schooling. They're also their cognitive level and their social level is being nurtured when they're at school. They're learning morals and social boundaries. So my stance is that we go back to school 100% fully in school, no halftime. If there's people that want to do virtual school, good for them. Let them sign up for other online portals that are solely structured for online learning. The virtual school and part-time school is not the solution. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Amanda Frankowski. I am
I'm an ER nurse, and I have 3 kids, 2 of which will be going to elementary school. It's very difficult being a full-time employee and also trying to homeschool. I don't really feel like I'm effective right now. My oldest is in gifted classes, and I'm worried she's going to fall behind and not maintain that. So I would really like for the kids to go back to school full time. I don't really think it will be very effective splitting it up and doing the block scheduling. I think it's very difficult with families and work, and I think that it adds extra stress to the family and ultimately the kids. And I think the kids are really suffering by just staying home. I think it's too much for them to emotionally and mentally process. So I just want to say that I'm all for sending them all back, and maybe have, if you wanted to have a guideline, maybe just cleaning in between, if they go out to play or they go to the cafeteria. Some illnesses are going to be inevitable, but it's not really affecting the kids how it is certain adults with comorbidities. So I think that we need to take our kids' mental health and their emotional health, which we already have a huge issue in our society, and the suicide rates have, already gone up tremendously in our country. So I think that school's needed. I think that the social interaction is needed. I'm not for kids wearing a mask. I'm not for them wearing a face shield, and I'm not for them, not playing together. I think that that's unnatural, and I think we could just do a better job as far as getting families and keeping our kids home when they're sick, and maybe having a policy on that. And that's pretty much it. I really just think they all need to go back to school, and I think it needs to be full-time. And I think that if there's teachers that don't feel comfortable, or they do have, type 1 diabetes, or they have, other asthma or different conditions that make them at a higher risk, then I think that let's figure out a way to implement them in some way. And I know there's other parents that feel different, that are going to want the virtual. So maybe we can put them in the virtual setting. So I think that's going to be where a lot of your social distancing and all that's going to come into play. You're already going to have that. There's quite a few parents that don't want to send their kids to school, and not just because of the virus, but because of everything else that's going on in the world. So I think that's just going to happen naturally without taking any extreme measures. And I just think about, the stress the kids already have, along with parents maybe only bringing their students to class, 2-3 times a week, and with their work schedule, they may end up losing their job. Not all jobs can do that. And ultimately, you're talking about children potentially losing their homes. Parents won't be able to. So that's why I do think that they need to go back to school. Thank you. Again, my name is Amanda Frankowski, and I'm an ER nurse.
Hi, good morning. My name is Dana Prowl. I'm calling to leave a comment in regards to the 2020-21 school year. I have 2 children in school in Jupiter, Florida. That's Jupiter Elementary School and Jupiter Middle School, an incoming 7th grader and an incoming 2nd grader. I am all for going back to the way things were prior to the pandemic, and would like to return to a full, normal, regular school year starting in the fall, leaving things as is. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Alexandria Ayala, and I am speaking on a non-agenda item. I want to say hello to Board Chair Barbieri, Board Vice Chair Shaw, the members of the board, and to Superintendent Dr. Fenoy. I first want to thank you for allowing public comment during these virtual meetings, and just want to say that how we will return to school safely is in everyone's best interest, and it is not a decision that should be made without collaboration. knowing that our school district faces a difficult decision in the near future, I really do appreciate how much the board has taken the time to include parents, teachers, students, and other important stakeholders in the process. I have been speaking with community members and community leaders, and the surveys that are being conducted and that have been sent to parents and teachers and staff, I think are a great tool to receive that important feedback and give you guys a good roadmap for how to tailor a back-to-school plan that will serve the important needs that we all need to receive. So I recognize that until all restrictions are lifted, schools will be operating on a different level and in a different world, no matter which plan the board votes for. But I do understand the complicated nature of that decision and the consequences of each choice. And in the coming fall, there will be a new world for all of us, and there are still many unknowns. But I want to take the time to thank the board again for listening and gathering information before making a decision that will be best for our school staff and especially our students. Thanks again for your time.
Good evening, school district members and staff. My name is Julie Botel. I'm chair of the Riviera Beach City Council. I'm not speaking tonight as a representative of the council, but for myself, and I'm not speaking on an agenda item. At tonight's Riviera Beach City Council meeting, there's an item about naming Juneteenth as citywide paid holiday. We believe that Juneteenth is more than just a day off. It should be filled with educational experience about the institution and affliction of slavery, community conversations on race and reconciliation, and cultural experience that bring the history, challenges, and contributions of Black Americans to the forefront of the national consciousness. Tonight's vote by the Riviera Beach City Council is an opportunity to make a gesture that we are together as a community in our efforts to end institutional racism and celebrate the history of our African American citizenry. Riviera Beach will host its inaugural Juneteenth celebration in 2021. This will be an event to inspire and bring awareness to the plight of Black Americans. It could also be a time to highlight the contributions and achievements of those who are committed to the well-being of our community in its entirety. I would encourage the Palm Beach County School District to join with us as we name Juneteenth a paid holiday and to continue to deliver the African and African American history infusion curriculum that is so important for our students. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Fraser. I would like to know if the district decides to reopen full-time, meaning on campus, what option would be given to parents who do not feel comfortable with sending their children back? Additionally, both of my children are gifted, so how will gifted students be impacted if they choose not to attend school full-time? Will more than one option be given at the child's SAC or assigned school, or will there only be one option given and then parents have the choice to homeschool, which would be to, then they would have to file an intent with the state? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lea Kaufman. I was calling to speak to someone regarding my feelings on starting school for the fall. Obviously, first and foremost, the most important thing is my children are safe. However, I am a working parent, and I don't really feel that virtual learning, my child didn't accomplish anything out of it. I understand that the teachers were not left with a lot to work with in the circumstances, but I think that having such young children, they need to be in a school setting. I don't have anywhere for them to be if they're not at school. I need to work, and so I ensure that the schools will be taking proper protocol to make sure that my children stay safe. That is first and foremost. Second, I don't think that having a kindergarten, first grader, second grader, any of these kids should be sitting on a computer doing virtual learning. I don't think they're going to get anything out of it, and I don't think it really is appropriate for them. I think they need to be with their peers. They need to be interacting. They need to be learning the proper way. That they're going to be so far behind if we do virtual learning again. I also feel that having a hybrid learning, whether it's mornings versus afternoon, or you go 2 days versus 3 days, I don't think that that's really going to accomplish anything anyway, for numerous reasons.
But again, it comes down to childcare as well. Where am I supposed to put my children at the times that I need to work? And I feel like, you know, whether you have the staggered starts or you have a full day, the children are still going to be in the class all together. Also, regarding masks, I don't really want my child wearing a mask full time. I can be okay with them putting on a mask, whether it's just walking in the hallway or going to fine arts or even for 30 minutes or however long they are in fine arts. I'm okay with that. But to have them sit in the classroom and just stare at a teacher all day in a mask, I don't know that I feel comfortable with that either. However, you know, I'm willing to do whatever I need to ensure that my child is safe. But again, for working parents, doing a staggered day or 1 week on, 1 week off, or a part virtual, part in school is never going to work for us, but it's also not going to benefit the children. I strongly believe in that. They need the interaction, and they need to be in an environment where they're actually going to learn, not sit at a computer screen. So I really hope that you consider what us as parents are saying, and I'm anxiously awaiting the day that we hear what the decision is. Thank you.
I am Dr. Ethelene Jones, a member of Unified Palm Beach County, and I'm calling because I'm very troubled about the school district organization chart that Superintendent Vinoy has proposed. It isolates and reduces the role of equity and access in school district operations, and it eliminates the position of deputy superintendent. 20 years ago, I was one of a group of retirees who mentored and tutored at-risk middle school students in a poor black neighborhood in West Palm Beach. The students were not allowed to bring home school textbooks. They were given only mimeographed homework assignments. Can you imagine that? Their families had no money to buy books, so volunteers had to buy textbooks so we could study the lessons with our students and help them with their homework. Black students who misbehaved were disproportionately suspended from school. During their suspensions, their parents were not permitted to obtain class assignments so their children could keep up with schoolwork. As a result, many failed a grade or dropped out of school. Graduation rates for black students were abysmal. In my work for the Area Agency on Aging, I visited schools all over the county, and I was struck by the shabbiness and shortages in predominantly black schools compared to white schools. In the 20 years I've lived in Palm Beach County, there has been significant improvement in black student academic outcomes, but we've not reached true equity. We need to increase attention to equitable treatment of minority students and not shove it to the side as the proposed organization chart would do. It is critically important that you not adopt this flawed organizational chart. It reduces attention to equity, and it will cripple progress for black students, like my granddaughter. I would rather see equity and access become one of the titles of the deputy superintendent. Definitely the deputy superintendent office should be retained. Thank you.
My name is Reverend J.L. Franklin. I am a member of Unify and the Coalition of Black Student Achievement. I had previously called, but I was forgot to put the item number P2. That's Paul and 2. I was talking about Keith Oswald, the current deputy superintendent, who has decades of history and supporting of all the black children in our community. And I believe he is the best person that's able to keep that going because the number of people that depend on the school board to do the right thing is very large. And so I believe that his name should remain deputy superintendent and also just add chief officer of equity to his title as deputy superintendent, because this is not about politics. It's about doing the right thing with the investment that we have invested in Keith Oswald. It's about doing the right thing for our children. It's about being fair to all of our black children. We've been so many things we've been through over the years, and I believe having him in place and adding that chief office of equity to his title will be beneficial to all children, all of us in this Palm Beach County School District. Thank you.
Good day. My name is Melanie Acosta. I am a member of the Coalition of Black Student Achievement. I'm calling to express comments in relation to agenda item P2. These proposed staff restructuring includes a Department of Equity and Access. However, this falls much too short from promulgating district-wide equity with fidelity. What's problematic is that it relegates equity to a silo status, an add-on, an ad hoc. It does not center equity as the under an overarching goal for our educational system. It thwarts the spirit and intent of equity and diminishes accountability. Moreover, it reveals a lack of understanding of the central issues that give rise to and create an equitable education. It obscures the reality that equity has not been infused throughout the school district. And it also fails to recognize that inequity is an entrenched systemic problem that permeates the entire culture of the school district. Finally, it is not reflective of a district that champions itself to be a top urban performing district. Therefore, inclusion of equity at a systemic level requires a holistic approach. The proposed staff restructuring plan does not do this. I respectfully ask that you keep the current organizational structure and add a chief officer of equity to the title and responsibility of the deputy superintendent. Thank you.
My name is Dr. Marianne DuPont, and I am a member of the Coalition for Black Student Achievement. I am commenting on agenda item P2, P as in Paul. As I reviewed the proposed organizational chart, I observed that it included a Department of Equity and Access. Immediately, I viewed the placement of this function as having the characteristics of a solid rather than a liquid. Let me tell you what I mean by that. I saw it as a solid that can be easily isolated and manipulated without impacting the policies, practices, and behaviors of the other structures of the organization. I did not see it as having the characteristics of a liquid that is flexible, flowing, and permeates the entire culture of the organization in a manner that the words become deeds to fulfill the mission of the school district, which reads, the school district of Palm Beach County is committed to providing a world-class education with excellence and equity to empower each student to reach his or her highest potential with the most effective staff to foster the knowledge, skills, and ethics required for responsible citizenship and productive careers. To this end, equity must be infused in an authentic and sustained manner in the policies, practices, and behaviors of all structures of the organization because it applies to both adults and children. It is critical that the district recognizes the interdependence of academic achievement, emotional and behavioral wellness, accountability in teaching and learning, budgetary decisions, hiring practices, just to name a few, and how its personnel relate and work with each other as human beings. Therefore, I respectfully request that you keep the current organizational structure and add Chief Officer of Equity to the title and responsibility of the Deputy Superintendent for two reasons. One, to ensure that we have a holistic approach to infusion of equity throughout the organizational structure of the school district, and 2, to recognize that equity must drive district decision-making across all structures and functions. And thank you.
Hi, everyone. This is Ingrid Lee in Delray Beach. I have a middle schooler in Boca Raton, and I am calling about the P2 item on the agenda, as well as the school reopening issue. The P2 issue, I really just want the equity concerns that we have as parents to be addressed in a meaningful manner. They need to be not a sidelined thing, something that's, an afterthought or not taken seriously. Somebody with authority that is already in the organizational chart as a leader should have that position to make sure that we actually get things done and that people and programs are held accountable. As far as school reopening, I have heard that there's going to be an announcement July 15th as to what happens. My son has some health issues, but I have concerns about sending him back to middle school come the fall. I know that there are pediatric cases right now in Palm Beach County as well as across the state and the country, and I have concerns of him picking this up at school, either in the hallways or from their teachers or from the other students. And I did fill out the survey. I just wanted to express my concerns for children and teachers that have health issues who are going to need to go back to school in some form or fashion at the end of the summer. And I'm hoping that they have options that are online for those who cannot safely go back to school come the fall. And I also want you to consider that teachers are very stressed about figuring out what the fall will look like. And I think that a July 15th notice really just barely gives them a month, which doesn't seem fair. So I am concerned both for the students and for the teachers. And I hope that you guys can come to a decision that's based on science as soon as possible. Thank you for your time and for your service. Bye-bye.
Yes, hi, my name is Karen Absug. I'm a resident of Delray Beach. I'm calling about agenda item P2. I'm against the proposed changes to the organization basically eliminating the deputy superintendent as far as the equity role goes. I'm against this. I don't know why we would be doing that. This is not a cost issue. This is a humanity issue. And it's important for all of our children to have equal equity through the school district here in Palm Beach County. I'm very surprised that this change is being made. I don't believe there's been any public discussion about this. And I just would like to remind the board that the school members are elected and they are accountable to, the general public. So, equity needs to be at the highest level. This is not something that can be sidelined. It's very, very important. There needs to be accountability. It needs to be incorporated into a leadership role. Someone who is overseeing other school leaders and supervisors. This will ensure that equity actually is infiltrated down through the organization. It's very important. And as a side note, I don't know why we would be making this change at this time or any change at this time. We have a pandemic going on. We're trying to reopen schools. I just, I don't know why we would be doing this. It makes no sense at all. So I'm hoping that the board will not support this organizational change. Thank you.
Thanks for your consideration. Bye-bye.
This is for agenda item P, as in Peter 2. The Coalition for Black Student Achievement and Unify Palm Beach County urged the superintendent to preserve the position of deputy superintendent and to place equity issues in the portfolio of the deputy superintendent, Keith Oswald. Oswald has proven through the years his dedication to correcting the historic systemic bias of the Palm Beach County School District that has disadvantaged minority students, thus making equity a priority, not a sideline. I'm calling to urge the superintendent of schools to prioritize equity issues and to make education in Palm Beach County the best education possible for all students, and particularly for those minorities who have been underserved in the past. For the superintendent of schools in Palm Beach County to dismiss the recommendations of two prominent Black student advocacy organizations to make equity issues a priority in the school district would be turning a blind eye to the racism that these organizations are fighting. My name is Donna Penn Towns. Thank you very much.
Honorable board members, superintendent, I'm speaking to encourage you to reject the reorganization proposed by Superintendent Fenoy. My name is Roseanne Brown, and I'm speaking to agenda item P2. I couldn't possibly cover all the reasons for rejecting the plan in just 3 minutes, so I'll touch on 3 of those reasons. First is placement of the Office of Equity. At a time when, for once, the entire world recognizes the necessity of equity, this plan pushes it too far down in the organization. Equity must exist in every district department. That will only happen when responsibility is placed at the highest level, no lower than the deputy superintendent's level. The proposed placement is too similar to what happened when the state mandated infusion of the African American curriculum into all schools. That never happened here in Palm Beach County because accountability was buried far too far down in the organization chart. Please do not repeat mistakes of the past. Number 2, the proposed plan displaces a person who has proven himself fair and effective with people of all colors. That's Mr. Keith Oswald. In fact, if you want to ensure the success of the Office of Equity, then Mr. Keith Oswald, as Deputy Superintendent, is the one who needs to be heading that up. I assure you, there would be no need for peaceful protests around here with Mr. Oswald in charge of equity for the school district. And lastly, number 3, people elected you, not the superintendent, to ensure effectiveness and efficiency within the school district. Now, how can you do that when the superintendent you hired dictates an organization chart without your input? Last time I checked, as elected board members, staff implements policy that you set, not the other way around. So again, I ask you to reject the proposed reorganization plan that was created without your input. Again, my name is Roseanne Brown, and I'm speaking to agenda item P2. Thank you for your time.
Good afternoon, Superintendent, board members, and others. My name is Yvonne Odom. I live in Delray Beach, Florida. I would like to speak to agenda item P2 in reference to the equity position. I am a retired school teacher for over 45 years in the school district. All of my years have been in Delray Beach. I've been very active in the community. And I understand the importance of equity. I understand greatly. I am a product of it, and sometimes a subject to it, and sometimes an object of it. So I am urging you, as one of the largest school districts who educate minority students that this should not be taken lightly. It is our responsibility to educate students so that they can become independent global learners and survivors. So I'm asking you to do not eliminate this position. If it's there, you need to create one so that we can ensure that our education is given to all of our students. In a time like this, it's more urgent than ever before. Education is the way out of poverty, it is the way out of ignorance, and it's the way into independent living. I'm asking you to please do not eliminate this position. Make sure that is not taken lightly, and that you do the right thing and do what is best for all of our students. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Kurt Sherrod. I come as a representative of the Coalition for Black Student Achievement. The last time I came before you, I spoke regarding the textbook issue. We informed you that the textbooks were insufficient and relegated African American history basically to the back burner, which pretty much leads into my comments today. Okay. By the way, I was assured that the textbook manufacturer and the digital copies would upgrade and include African American history. That never happened. Now, the purpose of the thing today is to discuss concerns that CBSA and Unify have regarding your decision to repurpose the positions of Deputy Superintendent and Chief of Staff and realign the duties of the two dedicated leaders currently in the role in the school board approval. Our concerns are as follows. One, the Palm Beach County School District track record regarding equity is horrendous. There continues to be a great need to address the lack of equity in all departments of the district. The Coalition and Unify are concerned that repurposing the role of Deputy Superintendent to Chief of Student Services, whether than equity, would dilute the authority of this position. Note that there is less responsibility associated with key positions. That alone creates the appearance of a demotion. The net result is that equity again becomes just lip service that will not be taken seriously. Unifying the Coalition recommends that the Deputy Superintendent title should be upgraded to Deputy Superintendent Officer, Equity and Wellness. They also recommend that the Superintendent will repurpose another position and call it the Equity Officer. This position will report to the Deputy Superintendent. This type of restructuring will provide a level of staff and administrative support required to finally create a culture of equity within the district. The current Deputy Superintendent has the history and the knowledge to continue in his role, as well as provide oversight to the Equity Officer. He knows where resistance will come from and has the internal relationship to work with any barriers that may come up. The current Deputy Superintendent has long-standing relationships with Black communities that will, one, generate the trust needed to work through sensitive issues, two, allow the district to gain access to much-needed community service and resources in vulnerable neighborhoods, and three, help them not to feel threatened when the Black community holds them accountable for equity. Help the Deputy Director. We also can help the Deputy Director build community partnerships to ensure all children are equally valued and have equal academic outcomes. I thank you for your time, and I really hope that you can reconsider the superintendent's position on this matter. Thank you.
Hi, I'm calling about the proposed reorganization. I don't know the agenda number. My name is Les Rifkin. I'm the president of the African American Culture Club of Century Village, West Palm Beach, a board member of the Palm Beach County ACLU, a former board member of Palm Beach County Now, and a member of Unify. I'm also the father of 6 Black daughters and the grandfather of 9 Black grandchildren. I'm a voter and a taxpayer. I'm calling about the apparent self-reorganization plan introduced by Dr. Fenoy. This plan seems to de-emphasize and diminish the importance of equity as a major priority for the system, along with lessening the role, clout, and significance of the Deputy Superintendent, Keith Oswald. Given that 64% of the students are Black and brown, it's imperative that equity have a top priority throughout the school system and not be diminished in any way. The recent historical events put an even greater emphasis on the role and importance of equity. The organizational chart must not only keep the position of Deputy Superintendent, but a position entitled Chief Officer of Equity needs to be placed where it reports directly to the Deputy Superintendent. This is no time to pretend that money is behind the proposed change or lessen the importance of equity. Thank you for listening.
Yes, my name is David West. This is, I guess, the category P2. I want to make a comment on the Deputy Superintendent, Keith Oswald. I want to know why would the superintendent want to demote Mr. Oswald, a person with decades in experience, a person that probably can lead this school district with the ethical work that they're doing. And I want to know why the superintendent would make this decision without the board or even having a discussion with the public about it. So can somebody please explain to me why would that happen, or explain to the public why would that happen? Thank you.
I'm speaking to agenda item P2. My name is Doyle P. Scott. The superintendent proposed staff restructuring includes a Department of Equity and Access, but this falls much too short in promulgating district-wide equity with fidelity. It regulates equity to a silo status and sends the message, even if unintended, of equity being an add-on. It belies both the spirit of intent of equity as well as diminishes overall accountability. It reveals a lack of deep understanding of the issues surrounding the impact of the lack of equitable education systems. It obscures the reality that equity has not actually been infused throughout the school district. Furthermore, it fails to recognize that inequity is an entrenched problem that permeates the entire culture of the school district. Therefore, infusion of equity district-wide requires a holistic approach. The proposed staff restructuring plan does not do this. I want to repeat it. The proposed staff restructuring plan does not do this. I ask humbly, faithfully, that you would keep the current organization structure and add Chief Officer of Equity to the title and responsibility of the Deputy Superintendent. Thank you.
Yes, good morning. My name is Christy, K-R-I-S-T-I-E, last name Ward. I'm calling in regards to agenda item P2. That's P as in Paul and the number 2. I'm calling because I agree with Mrs. Marsha Andrews, as I'm truly disappointed in how the superintendent announced a change to the organizational structure to the entire staff without a public discussion, not to mention not having an in-depth discussion with school board members. I feel like this was an attempt to go around the authority of school board members, and I don't think that was handled in the right protocol nor in the right way. So I am in agreement with Mrs. Marsha Andrews. Again, my name is Christy, K-R-I-S-T-I-E, Last name is Ward. And this is in regards to the agenda item in P2. And I am a member of Unify, that's UNIFY, and also a part of the Coalition for Black Student Achievement. Thank you so much for hearing my comment. Amen. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Evangeline Ward, Evangeline. Last name is Ward, Ward. I'm calling in reference to item number P2, and my feedback on it, I strongly agree with Mrs. Marsha Andrews in referencing that board members or school board members should be able to have a form of discussion concerning organizational structures and changes. With the superintendent taking this upon himself totally, it's almost like we're dealing with a dictatorship. And when you're dealing in this fashion or this manner, you know, we basically need to make sure that all interested parties are a part of this discussion. I'm a member of Unify, and with the word unify, again, that's we do things in unity. And because this would affect the greater good or the entire school board, these are people that are very knowledgeable of certain things because they are in-house, and some of them actually have first-hand reports of many things. And our superintendent, he's newly coming into us, you know, from a recent election. But some of these school board members, they've been there for almost decades. So I strongly agree with Mrs. Marsha Andrews that they should definitely be included in this structural change. Again, my name is Evangeline Ward, and I'm a member of Unify. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Good morning. My name is Wari Leonard. I'm with the Coalition for Black Student Achievement and the Riviera Beach Education Committee. I'm calling about item P2. I do not think that this organizational change would be good for the students or the teachers. At this time, we need to think about more than one thing. We are in a pandemic. We are now trying to reassess for the next school term. I'm asking that everything be put on hold to change now in this world sight of all the things that are going on would not be good for our school board, not good for our students. I'm also asking that the superintendent please listen to the school board members. They are there to help you. They're there to assist you. We voted them in. We ask that they be a part of everything that's going on. This is a democracy, and we ask that everybody be included in, regardless of race, color, or creed. Once again, I ask, please be careful with any changes, but at this time, we do not need to change the organizational chart for the Palm Beach County School Board. Take care and continue to be blessed.
Good morning. My name is Pastor Richard James. I am a member of Unify and also member of the Coalition for Black Students and Achievement. I want to call and express my desire to maintain the current organizational chart as we realize that this would benefit accountability as it relates to equity for all Black and brown students. Thank you.
My name is Kimberly Jones, and I'm a member of Unify, and I'd like to speak to agenda item P2. The superintendent's proposed staff restructuring includes the Department of Equity and Access, but this falls much too short in promulgating district-wide equity with fidelity. It relegates equity to a silo status and sends the message, even if unintended, of equity being an add-on. It belies both the spirit and intent of equity and diminishes overall accountability. It reveals a lack of deep understanding of the issues surrounding the impact of the lack of an equitable education system. It obscures the reality that equity has not actually been infused throughout the school district. Furthermore, it fails to recognize that inequity is an entrenched problem that permeates the entire school culture of the school district. Therefore, infusion of equity district-wide requires a holistic approach. The proposed staff restructuring plan does not do this. I ask that you keep the current organizational structure and add Chief Officer of Equity to the title and responsibility of the Deputy Superintendent. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kristen Cox, and I am a co-founding partner of Thrive Collective, a community asset development firm utilizing an equity lens to support marginalized communities, specifically Black and Brown communities, in growing their capacities to build wealth and power. I'm calling in reference to agenda item P2 and in support of the over 20 years of work of the Coalition for Black Student Achievement and the work of Unify to push for equity within the Palm Beach County School District. It is my understanding that the superintendent is proposing an organizational change that removes or demotes the Deputy Super Chief Oswald, whom the community has much respect for and understands the investments that we have made in him and the deputy position. He has a long history of supporting marginalized children, and we need to keep Mr. Oswald's massive experience in the deputy superintendent position at this time of great instability. We would like this position to remain intact in the current structure as is, but include in title and responsibility the role of Chief Equity Officer. Equity has to be at the highest level in line with authority over those that supervise school leaders and curriculum. The proposed changes to the org chart marginalize the role of an equity officer. By adding the title Chief Equity Officer to the Deputy Superintendent, the regional supers and the Chief Academic Officer will be held accountable for equitable student impact and outcomes. Implementing equity district-wide will be an enormous undertaking and requires deep understanding of what equity is by whomever is given the responsibility to oversee its implementation. This is why it is imperative that if equity is to be the center, as it should be, of all district decision-making, it needs to be overseen by an individual who has a clear position of authority to make things happen. They must have the knowledge, qualifications, and understanding of what equity looks like when operationalized. And most importantly, they must have the trust and confidence of the Black community that they will put the needs of Black children above political pressures, which is why I ask that you maintain the current org chart and add Chief Officer of Equity to the title and responsibilities of the Deputy Superintendent. The Black community of Palm Beach County is owed a Chief Equity Officer that has the ability to hold the academic side of the district accountable, and we hope that the school board and the superintendent do not continue to participate in the marginalization of Black people. We do believe that Dr. Fenoy was so impacted by the recent heightened awareness of inequity and injustices that he believed having a Chief Wellness and Equity Officer reporting directly to him was important. I thank him for remembering how necessary this role is. However, without accountability of regional superintendents and academics, it has no consequence. Therefore, my ask is to please respectfully revert back to your current org chart and add Chief Equity Officer and responsibilities to the titles of the Deputy Superintendent. Thank you for your service.
Hello, my name is Jacqueline Botting, and I live in Delray Beach, and I just want to make sure that equity is being addressed at the highest levels throughout the leadership, and that this is a major commitment by the superintendent to root out institutional racial disparities in our children's education. This should not be a financial issue, and we really need to make sure that we include the public, that we are really reimagining and redesigning the school system so that it is fair, just, and that everyone has the chance to succeed and thrive. Thank you.
Hello and good morning. My name is Dr. Audrey Franklin, a clinical psychologist, resident of Palm Beach County, and passionate member of the Coalition for Black Student Achievement. The agenda item number is P2. These proposed changes to the organization chart appear to marginalize the role of an equity officer. It is imperative to maintain the current organizational chart with the deputy superintendent having reporting lines from school leaders and supervisors. Our recommendation is to leave the deputy role and add the title of Chief Equity Officer. By adding the title Chief Equity Officer to the deputy superintendent, the regional superintendents and the chief academic officer will be held accountable for student equity outcomes. We wish to be clear, we believe we must have accountability for equity, accountability for outcomes academically, as well as the social emotional well-being of our Black and brown students. The proposed organizational chart does not conclude that level of accountability. In fact, it silos the regional superintendents, academic officers, wellness, and equity into 3 independent reporting structures. It has been shown that silos worsen outcomes. Once again, my name is Dr. Audrey Franklin. I'm calling about agenda item P2, and thank you for your kind consideration, and God bless.
Good afternoon, board members. My name is Dr. DeAndre Poole, and I wanted to speak on agenda item P2. As the former chair of the Coalition for Black Student Achievement and past chair of the Academic Advisory Committee, I have some points that I'd like to make. CBSA, Coalition for Black Student Achievement, has pushed for equity for over 22 years in Palm Beach County, and we face quite a bit of resistance from the school district. In light of what's going on across this country with bias and police interactions and elsewhere, we are disturbed that the superintendent would say that he is working towards equity by sidelining the work in an accessory chief who has also student wellness, alternative ed, safe schools, behavioral, mental health, extended learning, and global education. This is not how to prioritize equity. CBSA, and I'm also a member of Unify, stand together to say that this is unacceptable. 3 points we want to make. Equity needs to be at the highest level with inline authority over those that supervise school leaders as well as curriculum. The second point, it is not a financial issue. The proposed changes do not save money, and the money savings from other people retirement will occur with any organizational structure. 3, how did the superintendent make these plans and announce them to all school district employees without public discussion, or at least discussion with the school board members who are directly accountable to the public? Let me get ready to close by speaking about Deputy Superintendent Keith Oswald. Mr. Oswald has been a man of integrity. He is trusted across this county, and he has worked and has a long history of working with marginalized children. And while we wish him well in whatever he decides to do, one of the things that we need to do in Palm Beach County, we want to protect the investment. Keith Oswald has invested a lot in this county, and we need to make sure we protect him. He has a valuable experience to see the good, bad, and ugly of Palm Beach County, the Palm Beach County School District. We should not allow our investment to be sidelined, minimized, or moved. And in terms of the superintendent's decision and actions, it's deeply disappointing. And I would hope that he would have talked about focusing on equity at the time he made the comments about being a Black man and being concerned about his son. Equity should be at the highest level and added to the title and work of the deputy superintendent. Thank you, Ms. Andrews, Mr. Barberi, Ms. Whitfield, Dr. Robinson, for your You're acknowledging not making any changes, and I hope Karen, School Board Member Brill and McQuinn also follow and do the right thing. We need to make sure Palm Beach County continues the excellent work they're doing with equity. We need to do better. Our kids are depending on the decisions that you all make. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Edward Kinsey, and I'm a member of the Coalition for Black Student Achievement and wish to comment on agenda item P2. Equity must be an integral component in all structures and practices throughout the district and have a clear chain of accountability. I ask that the school board members who have the bottom line authority in this matter make sure that any staff reorganization does not de-emphasize equity with a watered-down interpretation of its real meaning and its intent. Equity should be the ultimate driving force behind all school district actions and treated with the highest priority. I ask that you keep the current organizational structure, but add Chief Officer of Equity to the title and responsibility of the Deputy Superintendent. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Andrea Bruton, and I am a member of the Unify. I'm calling in reference to agenda number P2. My opinion is that the current Deputy Superintendent Keith Oswald has decades of long history of supporting all marginalized children. We will wish him well on his career path. CVSA knows that he is the single best person in the Palm Beach County School District to lead the equity work. We also realize that the equity work is very important, that it must not be sidelined. We feel strongly that the organizational chart and position should not be changed except to add Chief Officer of Equity to the title and the role of Deputy Superintendent. This is the only way that the organizational structure shows the finally the Palm Beach County School Board actually wants equity. Thank you for listening and have a great day. Bye.
My name is Rosalind Joseph. I am a member of the Coalition of Black Student Achievement. I am calling to comment on agenda item P2. P as in Paul, the number 2. My comments are as follows. Dr. Fenoy, you eloquently spoke to your experience as a Black man and your concern for your son. I can too relate as a Black woman with 2 sons. You, more than anyone else, knows that without strong advocacy as well as accountability, we will not be able to raise up a future of Black and brown young people to meet their full potential. You know that we cannot lay the foundation for future fair and just law enforcement in a system that is well indoctrinated in a racist perspective. Our ask is that you reflect and realize that in your desire to flatten your organization, you isolated equity. We are asking that you reconsider your framework and the leadership that is critical at this moment in history. Thank you.
Board members, that ends the recorded ones. There are 5 written ones that Mrs. Bass will read, plus we have a late comment that came in from one of our delegation members. So Mrs. Bass, if you would go ahead and do yours at this point.
Okay, this is a non-agenda speaker named Chris Barr. From the New England Journal of Medicine, we know that wearing a mask outside healthcare facilities offers little, if any, protection from infection. Public health authorities define a significant exposure to COVID-19 as face-to-face contact within 6 feet with a patient with symptomatic COVID-19 that is sustained for at least a few minutes, and some say more than 10 minutes or even 30 minutes. The chance of catching COVID-19 from a passing interaction in a public place is therefore minimal. In many cases, the desire for widespread masking is a reflexive reaction to anxiety over the pandemic. From OSHA, cloth face coverings are not considered personal protective equipment, PPEs, will not protect the wearer against airborne transmission transmissible infectious agents due to loose fit and lack of seal or inadequate filtration. And jump to 14. He included a couple things. The items are attached, so he included some videos, and he is referencing jumping to minute 14 in the video on harmful effects of wearing a facial mask, both health and psychological. Further in the video, she discusses legal implications of requiring face masks in school. There are also a couple of live links in his comments that are attached to the item. Thanks for your time, Chris Barr. This is also a non-agenda, Megan Crosby. Children need to regain a sense of normalcy, structure, social interaction, and most importantly, a proper education by qualified individuals. Distance learning is not the solution for the majority of children. Families who are uncomfortable sending their children to school should be able to continue with the programs in place, but it should not be at the detriment of those who wish to return to school in a normal, full-time fashion if the state finds it safe to reopen school districts. I'm sure that a reopening procedure will mean increased cleaning, all facility and students wearing masks, separation of desks in classrooms, limit sharing supplies, etc. But even that is better than continuing distance learning and the mental toll it is taking on children. Additionally, working families need a consistent schedule to survive. If schools open with a part-time schedule, staggered drop-offs, 1 week on, 1 week off, it will be near impossible to keep a job. School is so much more than a place of instruction, and this crisis has shown what the real value it is to the community. Megan Crosby, parent of 2 elementary school-age children. This is from Nicole DeFlorio. Hi, PBC School Board. I am an educator, a single mother of a 10-year-old boy, and I have an autoimmune disease, which puts me at high risk for more significant effects of COVID-19. I understand the difficult situation that the board is in when it comes to the reopening of schools. The unemployment system is broken. Many are not getting assistance. Florida Big Business wants their free child care back, and parents cannot work full-time outside of the home if their children are not in school. With that said, this needs to be done safely and with consideration of science and facts. Today, Florida has reported the largest increase in COVID cases. On Monday, June 15th, the state reported 3,400 cases of children with coronavirus, including 10 of whom have the severe inflammation in illness. While 10 may not seem like much, if it was your child or grandchild, it would seem like the world. Palm Beach County cases are increasing at a significant rate. Although most children do not have severe symptoms, they are not in school in a silo, and they can be asymptomatic carriers. Schools are not just gatherings of kids in close proximity. They are gatherings of adults. And while there may well be a very limited threat to a healthy child carrying coronavirus without much incidence, that same asymptomatic child can pose a threat to a teacher with an autoimmune disease or an underlying health condition. That child can be an unknown carrier and infect their mother or father or grandparents, which could have a domino effect in the community. I am quite uncomfortable having my son go back to school in a classroom with 20+ children where social distancing is impossible. I am uncomfortable with exposing teachers and expecting them to risk their lives for a job. I know that the majority of children would not wear masks. Perhaps some would wear face shields. I urge innovation and creativity if you must open the schools full time. Increased cleaning and sanitation is a must, as are increased time for hand washing and logging contacts. If possible, I suggest the shortening of the hours of school days to help in limiting some of the exposure time and viral load. Perhaps being creative with the schedule, a 4-day week where the 5th day is virtual so the schools can be clean. I urge you to not succumb to political and governmental pressure, but to make decisions based on the safety of the entire community. Thank you, Nicole DeFlorio. This comment is from Allie Biggs. I am emailing you, honorable school board members, and Marcia Andrews. Let me start that over again. I'm sorry. Honorable school board member Marcia Andrews. I am emailing you today in total dismay regarding the superintendent's proposal to downgrade Keith Oswald's position as deputy superintendent. As we all know, the deputy superintendent, Keith Oswald, has the history and knowledge to continue in his role as well as provide oversight to the equity officer. He knows where resistance will come from and have the internal relationships to work through any barriers that may come up. Mr. Oswald is most capable of being able to move our educational efforts forward as we push for excellence in wellness and equity. He is the one person that has been in the midst of all the struggles and chaos that has gotten us to this point. I also stress the fact that I am concerned with the well-being of our children here in the Glades and what effect this will have on them. Yes, I am concerned about all students in Palm Beach County, but in reality, I am very worried as to the grave setback this could cause here. My prayer and request to you and to all of the board members, along with the superintendent, is to keep Mr. Oswald on in his present position as this district continue to work towards excellence for all students in Palm Beach County. I thank you for your time and wait to hear from you later with a positive report. Respectfully yours, Allie H. Biggs, member of Unify and CVSA, former commissioner, City of Hokie. Okay. This one is from Attorney Donya Roberts. Dear Superintendent Fenoy and school board members, I was extremely concerned to learn from a newspaper article of the proposed reorganization that would alter the school district to the point of paralysis, not to mention the fact that the plan had not been shared with our school board members much before the reorganization was announced to 22,000 school district employees. What possible logic could there be for a reorganization in the middle of an unprecedented pandemic? You have one job, and that is to serve the children in our communities. Schools need to be reopened, and we need to work together to accomplish that in a reasonable, efficient, and safe approach. Any decision to move key members to the leadership team in this time of turmoil is most disconcerting, and the concept of an equity office sounds nice and responsive to the pressures exacerbated by the media, but Mr. Keith Oswald has already been working on these sensitive issues with some success. Why would we stop positive progress? As a past SAC member at Gove Elementary for over 15 years and current co-chair of the Glades Career Readiness Roundtable, I respectively request that Mr. Oswald's duties and title as Deputy Superintendent be restored so that the good work he has diligently committed to and already implemented can help maintain stability in the school district leadership team. In a time when we are vulnerable to a myriad of outside political pressures, Mr. Oswald does not and has never succumbed to such pressures and remains vigilant in his pursuit of equal opportunities for those in the Glades. He has been a loyal and trusted advocate for the people in the Glades communities. We have a strong, respectful working relationship with our school board member and Mr. Keith Oswald, who work in concert tirelessly to serve the needs of our children. He has worked to maintain the dual language and inclusion programs at the same facility, a necessity to our community. He made necessary and progressive moves in administration and teachers, and now we are thriving, no DRF schools, our high school, very high graduation rates. To make this change at this tumultuous time fails to recognize the positive strides we have made in the Glades. I challenge you to find anyone with his sensitivity to the issues surrounding our Glades community with rich cultural diversity. He recognizes our children's potential in our administrators and teachers and includes them in the district and does not forget us when we so often are. This is just not This is not just about ensuring equity and access to high quality education for all students. There also exists inequality in the resources received by the Glades communities, and Mr. Keith Oswald has been a champion in equalizing the playing field for us. I implore you to please restore Mr. Oswald's title and duties so that we may continue to close the achievement gap in the Glades. Very truly yours, Danya A. Roberts. And this last statement is actually a delegate from earlier in the meeting, Laura Feldman, President, PTA County Council. Dr. Fenoy, Chairman Barbieri, school board members and staff. My name is Laura Feldman. I am honored to speak with you tonight as the new president of Palm Beach County Council of PTAs and PTSAs. Our new executive committee has been busy making plans for this year to help further the mission of PTA to make every child's potential a reality by engaging and empowering families and communities to advocate for all children. We look forward to continuing our partnership with you to make this happen. We are looking forward to Florida PTA's now virtual leadership convention in July, during which there will be many training and advocacy opportunities, as well as the exciting induction of Palm Beach County's very own Jen Martinez as Florida PTA's president. With Jen Martinez's leadership, we are sure that PTA members will continue to be strong advocates on behalf of all children. I would like to take a moment to thank Chairman Postel for her guidance and leadership during the last 2 years. I know we will continue to enjoy working with her in her new role of immediate past president. I would also like to thank the district for distributing surveys to the stakeholders' input regarding school for next year during the pandemic. We look forward to hearing the results of the surveys and the plans for schools in the near future. I wish everyone good health, and thanks, Laura Feldman.
Thank you, Mrs. Bassman.
Mr. Chair, requesting point of privilege. I know that typically we do not respond to speakers. However, I've taken notes. This is regarding the position, the organizational chart. And I'm going to start it with Mrs. Andrews' remarks from last week. I have seen Mrs. Andrews angry, cheerleader. I'm frustrated. I've never seen her to the point of tears. So that has stayed with me. Now tonight, I've heard some speakers that in my term, I've been on the board about 3.5 years now, I've never heard speak. And some don't speak often. So there are just some pieces that I think are so important. When Chuck Ridley spoke, because they all have basically the same message, but he said, even if unintended. So the respect in requesting adding the chief for equity to deputy, and I'm not going to get into that. I just want to recognize when he said the chaos that has resulted, even if unintended. And then Dr. DuPont, she never speaks anymore. So it's important that she did that. And she said that, I'm looking at my notes, equity must be infused. And we know that. And then finally, when I just decided how in the world can, Roseanne Brown, how often has Roseanne Brown spoken? And she refers to accountability. I'm not quite through. And then DeAndre Poole, when he referred to the issue of isolated equity. I am not Black, with a capital B, Dr. Robinson. I can't feel what they feel, but I just felt compelled to address those particular statements that really stood out to me, and thank you for this time.
Thank you, Mrs. McQuinn. Unless the board members have anything else, I think it's time to adjourn, so I'll be happy to take a motion from Mrs. Whitfield. Ms. Brill, second. If there's no discussion on the motion, we'll vote. All in favor? All opposed? Good night, everybody. The meeting is adjourned.